What's up passengers, welcome back to another video. Today I played the Black Ops 6 campaign, which is the sequel to the 2020 game Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Once again, Treyarch cooked by delivering a very interesting story while also providing something different from previous COD campaigns in terms of level design and mechanics. But without further ado, let's hop straight into this campaign. We're thrusted into the year 1991 in Kuwait, where we watch a stealth bomber annihilate a convoy instead of a hospital, which is a pleasant surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. We play as a character named William Cauldron, or just Case for short, and we're alongside Troy Marshall and Jane Harrow, and we're tasked with capturing some guy named Alawi. After newly getting assaulted... Oh, fuck! Jesus! Ooh. He tells us about some group called Pantheon, which are supposed to be the antagonists of this game, so we decide to hand him a firearm so he can help us fight this new threat, which is basically the equivalent of giving a firearm to a convicted felon and telling him to pinky promise that he won't hurt anyone, which never ends well. It turns out, Christmas came early because I somehow got a remote control car that I got to mess around with, and who knew that Santa worked for Lockheed Martin because I was somehow able to use it to blow up some enemies. Hello! Allah Akbar! After killing a bunch of soldiers and testing the newly implemented Omni movement feature, we end up between a canyon, which is probably one of the stupidest places to be in a gunfight because of the high potential to get ambushed. Certainly a 10 out of 10 strategic play on our end. To no one's surprise, we immediately got ambushed by a bunch of enemies. Nearly escaping with our lives, we finally got to meet Russell Adler, who was previously in Black Ops Cold War, and he decided to execute Alawi on impulse. Someone should really do a mental evaluation on Adler, because if this incident is anything to prove, Adler is clearly mentally unwell. One epic car chase later, where I proceed to epically take down a chopper with a rocket launcher, we cut to a cutscene with a lot of arguing, which I don't want to bore you with, because if you wanted to watch people argue, I would just tell you to observe your parents' healthy marriage. One cutscene later, the game flashes forward 3 days, and we end up using a house in Bulgaria as our new base of operations. And you know the housing situation in America has gotten bad when we have to start resorting to using houses in Eastern European countries like Bulgaria. No offense to Bulgaria and other Eastern European nations, of course. I'm sure you're great. After searching the house for any perverted activity using a blacklight, it was time for the next mission. The following mission sends us to a small town in the Mediterranean where we're forced to assassinate some guy named Yannick who's involved in some nefarious deeds which I can't name due to them not being safe for YouTube, in order to recruit an assassin named Savati Dumas. After taking out some guards quietly, I make my way up the church tower where a sniper is conveniently placed for me to use. I noticed that Yannick is hosting a yacht party, and I noticed that the party was pretty tame, especially for a criminal hosting it. My cousin's 12th birthday party had more drugs and hookers than this criminal's little yacht party. I decided to channel my inner Lee Harvey Oswald and proceed to blow Yannick's brains out. One target down, a few more to go. After getting myself captured, I meet a guy who looks like he ate the entire McDonald's menu. Shortly after, an absolute baddie decides to point a gun at my face, which I can proudly say is every man's fantasy. But just like my luck and my love life, things absolutely crumble because the baddie gets shot in the head and we end up shooting everyone in the room. After killing the remaining targets, I end up at a rally for my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. After assaulting some security guards for fun, what the fuck? What? I can just take down guard. That's so funny. I enter the venue where I'm approached by a woman, but instead of telling me how cute I am or asking for my number, she tells me how I should constantly look over my shoulder because there are people trying to kill me. Great. That was the last thing I needed to hear before I indulged myself with copious amounts of alcohol and political rhetoric. I'm then seated next to Savati Dumas, shown here looking like an absolute baddie. What makes this mission special is that I'm given a spy camera, which I need to take a picture of a senator's eye, so I decided to use it to take pictures of, let's just say, important pieces of intel. After running some errands for a member of the mafia, I end up getting what I wanted, so I end up going to a CIA black site prison which is conveniently underneath the entire venue. It really makes you wonder what else could be underneath other buildings like the White House or the US Capitol. Anyways, after swiftly killing some more enemies and doing this mind-numbing puzzle, we meet up with Adler again where he proceeds to execute a soldier at gunpoint. I think we should really check in on Adler's mental health because this is the second time he's killed an unarmed person. But I guess we can excuse his war crimes because he oozes so much aura whenever he puts on those sunglasses. After killing a juggernaut and nearly escaping the prison with our lives, we decided to escape the venue by riding on dirt bikes that have the American flag plastered on them, which is the most American thing to do aside from bombing third world countries in the name of democracy. The next mission takes us back to the Middle East where the British baddie Helen Park makes a return from Black Ops Cold War, seen here looking finer than ever. This mission was different from the prior levels because it requires us to take down various Scud launchers that are scattered throughout the level, but also places various side objectives that we could take on along the way, which is basically a more refined version of the open combat missions introduced in the disastrous game known as Modern Warfare 3. So I hope you're taking notes, Infinity Ward. After doing all the objectives, it was time to attack Saddam Hussein's palace, which was pretty easy until I was assaulted by a toxic fart. Oh, whoa. Oh god. Which is what I imagine happens when you tell your hinge date to sit on your face. Making quick work out of these fart demons, we stumble into Saddam Hussein's underground vault, and it's filled with wondrous treasures like golden statues, pots, a picture of himself, as well as a golden toilet. And if that toilet could talk, I'm sure it would tell a lot of interesting stories. Anyways, we stumble across some type of bioweapon called the Cradle, so I guess the CIA was right that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. However, we couldn't stay in the vault for long, as enemy reinforcements were closing in on our position. As we're holding off waves of enemies, my game suddenly crashes, which is truly a peak gaming experience in 2024. Oh god damn, oh my god! God damn! Pick the right weapon for the job? What are these death messages, man? I'd rather die and see some Martin Luther King quotes than just see some bland objectives. Oh, great. And, my game just crashed. Wow. Gaming in 2024 at its finest. This is Game of the Year, boys. After doing the same mission one more time, we end up boarding a helicopter as we watch the palace get blown to smithereens. This next mission takes us to a secret lab in Kentucky, which is nice to see that Kentucky is finally getting some proper representation because the only things that it's known for are its fried chicken and Mitch McConnell. After falling down an elevator shaft, which was the last thing I was expecting when I said I'll be going down a shaft, I inhaled some type of chemical agent which gave me hallucinations, and speaking from prior experience, I can officially say that this is a pretty good high. The experience was so bizarre because I ended up in an office lobby which I can only describe as looking like the TVA from the Loki series. In order to progress in the level, the game requires me to get 4 keys which are all obtained from doing a series of boss fights. In summary, these boss fights were so exhausting that I almost had a brain aneurysm. Especially the final one. Grapple! We find out that Case was being tested on using the Cradle to become some type of super soldier, but the test ultimately failed, so they changed it into a bioweapon. 4 intense boss fights later, I make my way up the elevator, and to no one's surprise, I'm forced to fight another boss. After this very time-consuming boss fight, it turns out I was hallucinating the whole time, which was most likely caused from the chemical fumes I inhaled from earlier. Overall, I rate that trip a 10 out of 10. Would do again. Afterwards, we're sent to your dad's favorite place to blow off steam after a long day of work, the casino. We're tasked with stealing some crucial items from a vault, so basically the premise to the movie Ocean's 11. How creative, Treyarch. What makes this level unique is that we jump around playing as various characters, like Case as we sneak around a sewer taking down enemies, Troy Marshall as we watch him play a game of poker, Felix watching a guy get beat up and using his extensive computer skills, and the absolute baddie Savati Dumas preparing for an average day at an American high school and planting charges at the vault. After an intense gunfight holding back some enemies, the game flashes back moments before where we play as Case as he's getting tortured. And not gonna lie, this scene would be so much hotter if I was getting slapped around by an insanely hot girl.
You need to leave!
After escaping the basement like I was a child trapped on Epstein's Island, I managed to steal some important documents from a vault and get involved in another gunfight at the casino. After dying multiple times to a bunch of riot shield users... Oh, god damn it! We finally escaped the casino by using some boats parked in the sewer. This next mission had us reunite with Sims, who, similar to Helen Park, was another major character in Black Ops Cold War. This level takes place at an airport in the Middle East, which isn't the first time a shooting at the airport occurred in a Call of Duty game. After killing a load of enemies, we found out that our target isn't on board the plane we just searched, so we're forced to travel across the entire airport in a tank, in what I consider to be one of the coolest action sequences in a Call of Duty campaign ever. It turned out that our target was being transported on some type of military aircraft, so after shooting the plane with our tank, we get our hands on the target, which turns out to be a scientist named Gusev, who helped develop the Cradle bioweapon we discovered earlier. After interrogating him in front of a damaged jet engine and nearly killing him, Gusev gets swiftly captured by Sims, which leaves me heartbroken and disappointed, which is the same feeling I get when she puts me in the friend zone. Oh, fuck you, Sims! Oh man, I just want to have a little bit of fun with him. This mission should give you a little bit of nostalgia, because we're taken back to Vorkuta, which was once a former Soviet gulag which made its debut in the first Black Ops game, but now it's been turned into a base of operations for the Pantheon. Once again, we play as Savati Dumas, and instead of looking like an absolute baddie, we take the disguise of the enemy, which I'm surprised fits me. I guess the enemy makes uniforms in both men and women's sizes. How progressive. This first part of the mission requires us to walk around and sabotage various parts of the base. But unlike your teacher, I'm not going to bore you with all the details because I don't want to make this video longer than it already is. So basically, after sabotaging the base, we landed the helicopter and proceeded to start shooting at all the enemies. And after dealing with some very tough enemies, in true Hollywood fashion, we're presented with a twist villain in the form of Jane Harrow, who started off as our friend and ally in the beginning of the game. After getting saved, we end up capturing Jane Harrow and bring her back for some questioning. We find out that they plan to release the Cradle bioweapon from the US Capitol building, which wouldn't be the first time that the Capitol was compromised. This final level was very trippy and interesting as we got to go inside of Jane Harrow. Pause. In order to uncover her origin story and figure out her motivations. Meanwhile, we get ambushed by a bunch of Pantheon soldiers. Barely being able to hold them off, we cut back to Jane Harrow as we continue to learn about her origin, like her parents being killed by CIA agents and her vow to take revenge against the entire agency. One trippy mind-numbing sequence later, we return to Case as we continue to gun down more Pantheon soldiers before we're back into Jane Harrow's mind. Afterwards, we watch a disabled Frank Woods kill a bunch of Pantheon soldiers but get outgunned as he is stabbed by Jane Harrow. After blowing up a bridge which cuts off enemy reinforcements, it is my job as the protagonist to go after Jane Harrow. Finally catching up to her, I make my way on board the helicopter as I attempt to shoot her. I end up accidentally killing the pilot, which caused the chopper to crash and knocked both me and Harrow out. After waking up with multiple concussions and possible brain damage, I decide to inhale the Cradle bioweapon, and fueled by my rage, I choke Jane Harrow to death, and we end up saving the day. Overall, now that I officially completed this campaign, I can say that I really enjoyed it, and it was a huge step up from the disaster that we call Modern Warfare 3. I appreciate how the developers wanted to try something new through the storytelling and level design, which was a nice change to formula instead of the constant shooting that we typically get from COD releases. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I do have some more Black Ops 6 content on the way, specifically from the Zombies mode, so I hope you stay tuned for when those come out. But without further ado, see you next time. Peace out.